This is going to be a film study look at Giovanni Manu in his first career NFL start. Of course, it was a difficult job, a tall task, if you will, trying to deal with Trey Hendrickson. I thought John Morton did a great job of protecting him by utilizing 12 personnel as a control feature to basically force Trey Hendrickson to line up to the opposite side, away from Manu, as much as possible, at least on the first possession. You can't do that for the entirety of the game, but it gave Manu an opportunity to start off well. Some of the issues that you saw in the last two preseasons still exist, right? Inconsistency in staying with his blocks. His pad level tends to rise. The longer the play continues, it makes sense, right? He's 6'7", 6'8", 350 pounds. Sometimes when he's working in combination blocks with Christian Mahogany, who is shorter, smaller of stature, if you will, the differential between those guys' pad level doesn't look like much initially after the snap, for the first step and a half, maybe 2 or 2.5 steps. But then as they try to move people or combo or perhaps move up to the second level, that pad level differential rises pretty quickly. In Manu's case, it's a slippery slope. He also had obviously difficulties with Trey Hendrickson in one-on-one pass situations, gave up 2 sacks, I think 1 to Hendrickson and 1 to Joseph Asai. Let's look at, I think, 12 plays primarily from the first half of Detroit's 37-24 win. We'll spot shadow Manu in yellow for pretty much each single snap. He's, of course, the left tackle playing next to Christian Mahogany. This is an example of what I'm talking about on the first possession. So Morton knew by calling 12 personnel that means Trey Hendrickson is the weak side defensive end, and that's going to force him to line up away from Manu. It was a control feature, in my opinion. I did a whole video about it on Monday that I'll link up in the description. You're welcome to check it out. Basically, it just talks about the first drive where the Lions go up 7-0. We won't cover every play from that drive. I've already done that already in the aforementioned film study video. I do like that Manu is looking for work often. So regardless of whether he's doing things correctly with his hands or whether his pad level is staying where you would like it to be in a perfect world, he's oftentimes able to get his hands on someone, in this case, the defensive tackle, and then continue to look for work from the outside. The late rush from Joseph Asai, who, like I said, I think got a sack on him a little bit later on in the game. This is the one that's complete to Laporta against the inside linebacker down the field, Logan Wilson, for a pretty big gain. Laporta, of course, shredded the Bengals' defense early. I think Morton had a great plan for how to attack their defense, particularly out of 12 personnel. We're still on that first possession. Again, you've got a look at a 12 personnel group. Here is Giovanni Manu. It's a down or really a duo concept, and the awareness to get his eyes up here is what I'm trying to make you guys aware of, or at least what I think is notable. So as he's working on the defensive tackle with Brock Wright, you can see they come together pretty much at the same time. Both bring their outside hands to control, and then Manu tries to work up to the linebacker level. It's Logan Wilson. It doesn't really generate any yards. I think he's doing a nice job here, in my opinion, trying to combo, get up to the second level. He's got awareness of the fact that he'll have to, at the NFL level, deal with one defender while keeping his eyes on a second one, and then moving up at the correct time. Really what happened here is that the Bengals overloaded or overwhelmed the numbers at the point of attack by bringing 2 safeties and the corner, Dax Hill. There's really nothing that Amon-Ra St. Brown could do, tasked with blocking one of the safeties, when a second safety, Geno Stone, comes free and gets involved in disrupting the downhill run concept. Still on that first possession, this is going to be a touchdown pass to Laporta to put the Lions up 7-0. Again, here is Manu spot shadowed right next to Mahogany. As an aside, it's a great job by Mahogany in basically chipping out to help Manu and then getting his eyes into the center to help Glasgow out with the nose tackle. Let you see this a couple of times. Illustrates the feet, the agility, the contact balance that Mahogany has, and then delivers a blow on the nose tackle who's already taken a knee for some reason. But the control feature that I mentioned earlier, since the 2 tight ends are on our right-hand side of the screen or the left-hand side for the Lions offense, that means that Hendrickson's going to have to line up over Penei Sewell. You like that matchup from a Lions perspective. Far better, obviously, than Manu trying to deal with Hendrickson one-on-one. Manu tends to lose connection with people after a while, and you do get the defensive tackle. Despite the combo from Mahogany, it didn't dislodge him. He's got his hands locked up on Manu, so he's able to use that eventually to shed, So kind of like not a push-pull, but a side lean, and then drag Manu out the other way. Use that to kind of slingshot himself past. I don't really care if it goes down as a loss. I don't necessarily pay attention to all that stuff, pass rush win rate, but you'll see over the course of this video that Manu has clearly got some things to work on. Opportunities perhaps for him to learn during the game how to possibly readjust or regain inside hands, or at least mitigate that situation when the defensive tackle has control of him off the initial snap. Touchdown pass to Laporta in the left flats. Morton was really taking advantage of those defensive ends and inside linebackers dropping out in coverage. Moving forward to the second possession, we of course know how this one's going to end. It's going to be the strip sack for Hendrickson, who's actually lined up on Manu in this case. So I think Cincinnati probably had an idea of what was going on, so they called the strength opposite perhaps, or they called it into the boundary. It's like the touch of death here for Hendrickson. I mean, the first time that he really gets his hands on Manu, just one slight punch absolutely causes him to lose his balance. That is how talented Hendrickson is. He's a real problem. Having seen him firsthand against the Ravens for years, he's one of the best defensive ends in the league as far as getting after the quarterback. It's a really great job, if you ask me, by Jared Goff. No pressure initially. The running back is helping out Manu, who's obviously beat by Hendrickson. And so Goff kind of gives this a little pump fake look to St. Brown on the over concept. And since Logan Wilson is getting underneath of that route, then he throws it over the top of this defensive end, dropping out into the flats. Beautiful throw. Maybe the end zone angle doesn't do it justice, but I really was hoping that people would appreciate it, working left to right with his reads, he being Goff. Still second possession, and I like this, that you're jumping Hendrickson in a situation when the ball's going to be out quick. So there's no reason to get into a deep pass set and allow the defensive end to possibly get his hands up in the throwing lane and be able to perhaps knock it down. In this case, he basically jumps him, which means doesn't take a typical or traditional pass set, and certainly not a deep one, more flat, angled back slightly, and so he gets his hands on Hendrickson quicker than perhaps Hendrickson expected. Now, you will see a counter from Hendrickson here a little bit later. He basically changes his angle and gets upfield, but that's what we're talking about by Manu. He's not worried about a hand movement or a swipe or a rip or anything from Hendrickson, because Manu is jumping him sooner than Hendrickson is prepared to get his move out. And you can see that causes Hendrickson to expand. Goff looking off screen to our right, the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Ball's out quick, right? It's a good idea to jump the speed rusher occasionally, especially early when you know the ball's going to be out quick, to try to establish in his mind that you have that capability. And certainly with the long frame and arms and body size and composition that Manu has, that's definitely a viable option for him. You can't jump someone like Hendrickson all the time. He's going to be able to adapt to it. Here he kind of changes his angle. This is, of course, the strip sack that really negates and ruins the Lions' second possession, where they could have gone up 14-0. A little bit of a ghost move, disappearing his hands, if you will, by Hendrickson. Pulling them down, retracting his hands, if you will, and going underneath of Manu, who gets turned. And it's really over at this point. The only choice that Manu had is to, possibly hold. Hendrickson gets there just before Goff can possibly get the ball out to Montgomery. Strip sack that we were all hoping, at least upon replay, would be ruled an incomplete pass. I don't have any complaints about it. One of the calls, or the styles of calls, I should say, where refs seem to be consistently calling it a fumble, at least live speed, to allow the replay to do its job. So credit Hendrickson, right? He got jumped, and then on the next pass rush opportunity, he went upfield drastically, kind of a radical angle, and really Manu just could not get to that spot quick enough. It was a pretty easy win for Hendrickson. Third possession, here it's still 7-0. The Lions defense was able to get a stop. I think this is a nice job by Manu, trying to dig out this 4-eye. So everyone on the offensive line is moving to their right, our left on the screen, run concept to Jahmyr Gibbs. And so a 4-eye means, instead of a 4 being head up on the tackle, a 5 technique being outside shade, and then a 3 being outside shade on the guard, a 4-eye means he's kind of not gap stepping, he's kind of stepping to the inside shoulder of the tackle So that's the inside leverage alignment, generally called a 4-eye. Inside leverage of the guard will be a 2-eye. Hopefully that makes sense. For a lot of people, it does not, and I get it. The numbering system can kind of be confusing for some. But it's a great job for Manu, if you ask me, of initially getting leverage on number 90, who had him out leverage. So he almost really scoops this guy. You can see the helmet is winning. The outside shoulder is winning. He's just not able to hold it. 90 gets even for a moment. It's a nice job, if you ask me, by Manu of kind of trying to dig out a 4-eye, with really no help. He had to do this all by himself. Still in that third possession, it's a combo or a run concept to him. Again, Hendrickson is opposite of Manu, perhaps based upon Laporta's initial alignment, but in any case, it's a run concept to their side, to our right-hand side of the screen. Hendrickson's going to get involved in the TFL. There's also a safety there, so Cincinnati was really selling out to stop the run here. But you'll see as the play progresses, Manu's pad level kind of rises up. Now, 98's got a hold of him. 98's kind of driving him. Manu is trying to combo up to Logan Wilson. He's trying to work up to the inside linebacker right here, 55. And his pad level just starts to rise up. It's one of the things, and his left leg kind of starts to dead leg. He really loses power in his leg completely, if you ask me, and isn't able to help Mahogany out a whole lot. I think it's one of the things that I notice, and I'm not an offensive line expert, but occasional loss of power in his lower half because his pad level tends to rise soon after the snap. Now, in which order? It's kind of like a chicken or the egg thing. Does he lose the power in his legs and then his pad level rise, or is it vice versa? In any case, being grabbed by the tackle there and kind of pushed out on the double team obviously influenced that to happen a little quicker. Still third possession, and it's a play action pass, and he's going to get some help from Brock Wright on Trey Hendrickson. So Brock Wright's going to step to Hendrickson initially to chip him, and then Manu steps outside in pass pro. So he's getting a deeper set. You can see that large kick step to get as much depth as possible to try to match that speed rush. So they're trying to funnel Hendrickson to the top side and basically get him out of there, give Manu the best opportunity to deal with the speed rush element and danger that Hendrickson brings. And you can see there's a defensive tackle, 69 here, kind of in Goff's field of view with Hendrickson around the backside of the pocket trying to close in. One of the few incomplete passes in the game from Goff. It was 19 of 23, I believe, in the game. This one to St. Brown, tightly contested, I believe, from DJ Turner. Not sure what possession this one is on, but it's really the same dynamic as what we just displayed. Manu is lined up with Trey Hendrickson to his side. I think at this point, John Morton and Hank Fraley understood the dynamic, that they were really at a disadvantage fighting uphill in terms of trying to deal with Trey Hendrickson. So they help him out. They give David Montgomery to that side. At this point in time, to help out, Goff tries to step up. I believe this is a third down. Goff tries to step up and ends up getting sacked by, I think that's Miles Murphy. It's really the name of the game for the Bengals defense for years, was occasional wins with Trey Hendrickson in the pass rush situation and stopping or slowing down the run from a nickel platform. They, of course, have a different defensive coordinator at this point in time. Lou Anarumo is gone. He's moved over to the Colts, doing a great job there. The defensive coordinator now is from Notre Dame previously. In my opinion, he's pretty much using the same strategy with Hendrickson, which is let's try to get as many wins as possible in pass rush situations. Get him off the field oftentimes, honestly, on 1st and 10, where the other team could be focused on running the football. Fourth possession, this is after one of the interceptions, and it's going to be a run to his side. Can't really get any movement on this defensive tackle. Kind of stands him up. You can see his pad level rise quickly, and Manu is trying to fight to get any kind of movement here. Just can't get it going at all. He got stood up, essentially, by giving up his chest, hands on the inside for the defensive tackle, really controlling him. I think that 2 or 3 of the defensive tackles for Cincinnati really played well in this game, in particular against the run. Almost really interrupted Manu's attempt to try to move him either vertically or horizontally. I do think Manu has improved. I recognize that a number of these plays are negative. It's a steep climb, from where he came from in college to where he is now. I think for the Lions to be able to survive with him there long-term at left tackle, it would certainly require some schematic changes or commitments, I should say, to providing him consistent help. A kind of a reverse power counter, if you will, where the right guard, Tate Ratledge, is going to pull and try to kick out the edge defender. And then the fullback, who I think is Brock Wright, is stepping off the midline. And then he's going to usually try to go get the frontside inside linebacker. Manu is trying to block down on this defensive tackle and really not able to get things done. Violent play, number 90. I don't even know who that is, to be honest with you. But he slaps Manu out of the way, and that does the same thing to Brock Wright in the other direction. So it's the right hand sensing the down block, basically letting Manu go where his momentum wants to take him, and then doing the same thing with pretty much the left hand on Brock Wright. Badass football play. I know you guys are Lions fans, and I am too at this point, quite obviously. But it's a great play by 90, to shrug off two guys as potential blockers in the span of about 1.5 seconds. Finally, an opportunity to say something a little bit positive about Manu in a pass pro situation. This will actually be the last play that I show you. I don't think there's really any reason to go through the 23 plays that I have saved up of him. I think that would be too long, to be honest with you, in production, number one, and probably less enjoyable for you guys. I will say this. I think that this is illustrative of Manu possibly learning during the game. There's really no way to simulate it. He can, and I'm sure he does, listen to his coaches, Hank Fraley in particular, at practice. But this is forced evolution, if you will. So he retracts his hand, anticipating the same move from Hendrickson. It's actually not the same exact move. Hendrickson's kind of ghost and then ripping. He's really good at this, he being Hendrickson. So his left hand goes like clockwise here. Pseudo ghost that really turns into a rip with his left hand. And I think Manu just retracts his hand right here such that Hendrickson's move really doesn't work. The ghost really touches nothing, and then Manu can latch on. He gets away. I don't want to say he gets away with this, but it's something that he can do that other tackles who don't have the size and frame that he does perhaps can't do in the same way. They'd be called for a hold, probably a little bit sooner or a little bit more consistently. I do think Manu showed improvement in the game. I think there's a couple of moves, a couple of plays that kind of impressed me. Trying to dig out or really digging out the 4-eye on the run play away from him was quite impressive for his size and for the level of the defensive tackles that he was dealing with. I thought Cincinnati's guys played quite well. Number two, there was a screen later on in the game that was actually a failed screen to the tight end where he got out in space pretty quickly and put himself in position to help lead block for, I believe it was Brock Wright. It ended up being a drop. In any case, technique-wise, he learned more in that game against a guy like Trey Hendrickson than he probably learned in the month of practice. His coaches, obviously Hank Fraley, one of the best in the game, will give him feedback on try to handle some of those things. If he has to get back out on the field this week against the Chiefs, I would absolutely think that they're going to try to attack him if he's on the field consistently. We'll know that, come kickoff time or even before then if Decker is able to go. I certainly hope that he is. Manu is a long-term project. I think we all knew that. Year two, getting to start, perhaps two here, we'll see. Leading up to the bye, I don't have any update on Decker at this point in time as I record this Tuesday night. It's been a really long day, number one, for me. Number two, I just don't have the time to keep up on injury report stuff. And, of course, besides that point, no team has really started practicing yet this week as I record this Tuesday evening. In any case, you guys let me know what you think of the video and the 12 or 13 plays, in fact, I should say, that I picked to illustrate the quality of Manu'S play. Certainly, it's a steep climb. It's an uphill climb dealing with the level of defensive ends that he faced against the Bengals and that he would potentially see this week for the Kansas City Chiefs. I appreciate you guys' time, man. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section. Likes and comments always help drive the engagement and push the video out to larger audiences, which helps create more revenue and more incentive for content creators like myself to produce more Detroit Lions videos for you. If you think other Lions fans would enjoy this film study look at Giovanni Manu, the second-year tackle for the Lions who got his start in his first start, I should say, in the 37-24 win over the Bengals, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.